Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Teacher Joseph podcast. I have a question for you today. Do you live in a city, or do you live in a town or a village? And what's the difference? Most people think it's just about the size. So, for example, if you live in a big kind of metropolis, like Berlin or London or Tokyo, then in your mind you think, well, it's a city, no? Or if you live in a little place, maybe a small village or a small suburb, you might think, well, it's not a small place, but not a big place, so it's a town. And then if you live in a really tiny place, you can say, well, it's a village. That's all true according to the English language dictionaries, but there is something else which you have to know about the English-speaking world. Here in the UK, a city is not just a city because of its size, but because the government have made it a city. Here, cities are created by the Queen, and only the Queen. For example, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee is coming up, so she has decided to create a number of new cities. I believe it's 5. Let's look at a place in the UK called Colchester. Colchester, if you come to the UK and go there, you would automatically think that it is a city because it's a big place. But actually, it wasn't. It was called a town. And this is a little bit strange because you would call it a city. I might call it a city if I didn't know if it was a town or a city. But the people living there know that it isn't. It looks like a city, it acts like a city, but we don't call it a city because it isn't one. A city in the UK is a political designation. It's an award from the Queen. Every year, or every few years at least, there is a competition to convert some towns in the UK into cities. And every town in the UK wants to be a city because it gets more money from the government. When we were members of the EU, when we were in the European Union, it became very confusing because around the world, people don't understand our situation with cities and towns. So with competitions like European City of let's say, culture, many of our towns were big enough to say, hey, I'm a city. I want to apply for this. I want to be European City of Culture. And they could apply because they were big enough. But they weren't technically cities in the eyes of the UK government. But because of the other definition, that a city is simply a large town, no one cared. And Europe could clearly see that even though they weren't officially cities, they really were cities. Are you confused? Yes, it is quite confusing, isn't it? So, around the world, a city is a big town. But here in the UK, a city has to be appointed by the Queen. And she will only do that if the city has a cathedral, a university, and her permission. It gets a little bit political because, of course, it's not really her that decides, it's the government. But there is a competition every few years, and many towns want to be cities and they run very big campaigns to be cities. And the people support it, and then they anxiously await the results. It's not an election, it's just a special honour. And cities will get more money from the government than towns will. So, the next time you come to a city in the UK, ask yourself, is this really a city? And if you look around at the official notices, it might say, for example, welcome to Colchester Town, welcome to Doncaster Town, welcome to the town of Dunfermline. And some of them won't say anything because maybe they just want you to think it's a city and you just assume it will be, but politically it's not. So we have a scenario here in the UK where we have some very, very big towns and some very, very small cities. I'll give you an example. Paisley, which is in southwest Scotland, is considered to be the largest town in Europe. Reading in Berkshire, in England, is also considered to have one of the largest suburbs in Europe, which is, I think, officially classed as a town as well, Reading Town. Now you might think, Reading's huge. It's almost the same size as Glasgow. Why would that not be a city? Well, it's simple. The Queen has not made it a city. In fact, with Reading, Queen Victoria, one of our old queens, she hated the place. So they built a statue of her facing away from the town. And because of this history, it never was allowed to become a city. So there we are. Let me just go through this one more time. In the English dictionary and in countries around the world, a city is a large place. In the UK, that's also the case, but unfortunately, to be a city is also a political designation. So we're not always quick to say, oh, the city of this and the city of that. The example I gave you was Colchester. Colchester, I think in a few weeks, will officially become a city, even though it's like a huge, huge place with lots and lots and lots of people. If you go there, you would think you were in a city. You are, according to the dictionary definition, but you're not according to the government definition, their official definition. So, depending on what dictionary you look at, you might get some different ideas there. One dictionary might say city, a large place. Another dictionary might say city, a place officially authorized by the British government to be a city. So there we are. That's cities or towns. So if you're living in the UK and you're living in a British city, have a look around, because it might not be a city in the eyes of the government. You might be surprised. You might be living in a town that's larger than the nearest city, but isn't a city exactly. All right, that's it. Have a good day. See you soon. Bye-bye.